Hello, welcome. My name is Pierre Talbot. I'm the president of Tikidem, and today I want to present the Google Spreadsheet Planner that you could get free of charge. Just go on the website. There's a place where you can request for your own copy. Just fill out a few questions about you, your boat, or your application, and we'll send you that spreadsheet to you. But today I'm going to explain the what you should expect in this, how this spreadsheet is built, and this way you'll know what to expect. So let's jump into the this video. Uh, the way the spreadsheet is divided is there's section for each type of component. For example, there's if we look on the left side, there's a section for the engine, section for the transmission, the engine fuel, generator if you have one, the fuel for the generator, the trim tab, the wiper, bilge pump, shower pump, salt water pump, fresh water, black water, gray water, and then there's the electrical DC, the electrical AC, the light, the fan, temperature, inverter, then section for other equipment and freezer, windlass. So I have created different section that normally we find in boat. At some point, if you see that there you have some equipment that are not there, let me know. I will update the spreadsheet. And for each section, there are items. So for example, right here, we have the RPM. So, and first, before that, you define how many engine you have in your boat. So in this case, this is two. And then you, for example, for the RPM, you would come here and you would say, okay, in your boat, do you have the RPM info? Normally, yes. Is it analog gauges with the needle? Is it a dedicated engine display? Some newer boat have a specific screen for that. So if that's the case, you can write it here. Or if your RPM, your engine is even newer, and the information is transmitted over NMEA 2000 network, then you would come here and select that. So you select exactly for each of those element. So oil temperature, the coolant. I mean, there's so many items over there. If there's some that are not there, let me know. So you select exactly what you already have in your boat, or let's say you were going to buy a boat, what was planned to be in the boat. And then this column right here is what you want for the controller to control. So in this case, for example, the RPM, let me see. So say if, you, for example, you don't want a controller to control a specific element, you would just say no. In this case, it has been chosen to do the full digital monitoring and get some alert if there's any warning and alarms. So for each item, you would select what exactly you expect the controller to do. So that's a good way of exploring what you would want to have and see how it impact the cost, because this is the end goal of this. Because for each item, if we go on the right side here, um, it would define how many relays it's required, how many PWM, pulse width um, pulses. Input is required, how many LED it needs to control, how many analog input it needs to control. So it compiles how many of each element a controller has. And at the end, you will know how many relays and how many analog input, and you will know how much it would cost you. So if you have to fill out all these different items, there is a column here, planning to install. What it is, at some point, you will notice that I have added some equipment that already exists out there. So, for example, um, wiper. So maybe you wanted to have like the intermittent wiper in your boat. Um, so if you were planning to install something like this, in this case, I have selected one model. There could be some others, but at least that gives you an idea of comparing the price of this controller with a different solution, how much it would cost you. Because at the end, you want to know the cost of this, but also what it would cost you if you would go with, let's say, the competition and separate units. So you select this here. Um, you will see this is a price. I believe this is probably in Canadian price that I have found. So don't worry too much if it's not exactly the right price. It's just to have a budget. So you'll be able to get a pricing of a feature like, for example, here, this 148. Um, since this controller does support that feature, that means that if you were planning to have this intermittent wiper control, then you will not have to pay for this. So it will play in your decision. Um, After that, the cost replaced by the controller, again, depending on the selection you have done, there might be some feature that will still be there, some separate unit. Otherwise, it will show as right here. So this will play into the final pricing. And then after that, the other columns, as I said, it just calculate the number of relay and so on. And so you fill out all of these things. So it's a good way to say, okay, maybe if you want to add a column saying, okay, for let's say the first year, you're planning to have these things, and then next year you're planning to have these things. I mean, feel free. It will be your spreadsheet, so you can do whatever you want with it. So you fill out all these things, and at the end, if we look right here, we see the sum. So this row tells us that for that specific spreadsheet that I have filled, 22 relays are required, 36 analog input and 6 LED. And then what I do in the equation is to figure out, okay, how many controller like this will be required as a master. There's always at least one master unit. In this case, master is meaning the master board plus the slave board, and the slave controller is separate boxes that are just slave. So and you just put here the currency. So I believe probably you have Canadian and US. If you're in euro, let me know. I can put the currency. Of course, this is current. The currency change all the time, but you can go in the equation and fix the number. And that gives you an estimate that, for example, here, if we had to do that exact solution here, it would cost 300 and 600 Canadian. If we had to go with the competition just for the different unit, it would be 5,000. So there's a difference of 145%. The estimated global solution, what is it? Is that it takes into account the let's say the NMEA 2000 cables, all the different gizmos that are required, and also it takes account into the different specific feature that I showed before, like for example the intermittent wiper. It could be the auto trim tab. It could be the LED controller. All these feature that you wanted to have that are separate unit. I'm calculating the cost of them versus the fact that it can be done with this. And the overall global solution in this case is it would cost you more than twice to go with the competition. And when I'm talking about competition, I'm not talking about the highest competition, like, for example, Maritron is very expensive. So I'm not even selecting these type of equipment. So I try to compare with the next. It's difficult because not company have all the piece of the puzzle, so sometimes I have to pick different component. But I try to pick good brand name over there. So that's one way of calculating, estimating how much it would cost you. What you will probably figure out is if, let's say, you had a budget of 5,000, you might say, "Oh, I can do more than what I was planning to do." So that's a good way to say, okay, maybe I'll have this and this and that feature because it fits within my budget. So again, go on the website, click on the button to request for your own spreadsheet, fill out the questionnaire, and we'll send you your own copy. And you're no obligation to buy the controller, but and the spreadsheet will send you, knowing the answer you tell us about, let's say, you're about your application. We'll try to customize a little bit the spreadsheet so some of the work will already be done. So if you have two engine boat or one engine boat, the spreadsheet will have already been pre-filled for that. So let me know if you see things there that are missing. I will have that. That's for sure. Thank you again.